Us humans, we've been pretty busy these past few millennia. Since whenever it was we stopped dragging our knuckles on the ground and made the great leap forward from chimpanzee to Homo sapiens. We've made a lot of mischief, that's for sure. But we've also created some pretty cool gear, which kind of got me thinking. Thousands of years from now, when learned scholars gaze back and try to list the most important, transformative, world-changing inventions in the history of humanity, what's likely to make the cut? The electric light bulb? The steam engine? The internal combustion engine? The airplane? The automobile? And of course, sliced bread. But right up there in the pantheon, alongside all that stuff, is a more recent breakthrough, a new invention that came out of nowhere and in a few short years whipped through all our lives like a Bengali typhoon. The invention in question is, of course, the World Wide Web, an amazing and surreal universe that spawned huge fortunes, upended countless industries, and changed the way that much of the world works, plays, communicates, shops, and even falls in love. My name's John Heilemann, and I'm here to tell you the story of the web's rise from obscurity to global ubiquity. It's a tale I know like the back of my hand, because as a journalist, I had a ringside seat for the whole shebang. For more than a decade, I was right here in Silicon Valley, witnessing up close the moments that shaped the internet age. That age began with a vicious power struggle to decide who would control the future of the just emerging web.
Jim Clark starts literally pounding the table, and he's like, we have to take this thing public. We have to take it public right now.
Close of trading, I had made $663 million.
A struggle that would end with an epic courtroom battle.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that would forever be remembered as the browser war.
We were like a deer in the headlights with Microsoft in front of us, so, you know, what do we do? What do we do?
It was all hands on deck. This is not a drill.
They're going to crush us. They're going to crush us.
We have to destroy this company.
Now, today we're all used to the web with its fancy video and graphics and sound, where one mouse click can send us rolling down a new path. Who knows where you'll end up? But back in the early 90s, the web was very different. It was basically just an obscure research network invented a few years earlier by an English scientist called Tim Berners-Lee. There were precious few web pages, and the ones that did exist consisted of nothing but line after line of boring text. You had to be a big-time geek to get all excited about this thing. But one of those geeks, a visionary University of Illinois computer science student named Marc Andreessen, had a crazy idea. He imagined a future where everyone, including regular people like you and me, would use the web as part of our daily lives.
Andreessen worked in a cubicle near me, and he was working on a different product, and then he got all wild-eyed about this thing called a web.
The internet at that point was really only for nerds. It was really only for academics and researchers and scientists, and there wasn't anything that ordinary people could do on it. But it was so useful to the people who were using it that I always figured everybody should be able to use it.
So he was like, yeah, man, this stuff is going to change the world. It'll be great. You know, it's global hypermedia. And so I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Andreessen may have been the most excitable, but soon enough, he and a bunch of his college programming pals were working on making the web easier and more intuitive to use, adding images, pictures, audio, and video capabilities. The fruit of their labors was this: a dead simple piece of point-and-click software, the world's first graphical web browser. And every time you surf the internet today, you're using one of its descendants. In the fall of 1993, the Illinois geeks posted Mosaic online and made it a freely downloadable gift to humanity. And what a gift it turned out to be.
Well, we first posted the announcement on a newsgroup, on a Usenet newsgroup at that point, and I just said, does anybody want to be part of a beta effort? And I got back 12 responses, and so I sent the browser to 12 people. And then it just spread virally from there. So it spread from 12 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 to 1 million.
This was the moment when the internet went from obscurity to ubiquity, from a toy for geeks and a tool for scientists to a bona fide mass medium. A bunch of 20-something, code-crunching, burger-guzzling kids had kick-started a revolution. But before Mosaic could go truly global and imperil Bill Gates and Microsoft, it needed one more ingredient: a giant, heaping pile of cash. This extremely expensive building was a gift to Stanford University from this man, one of its former professors, Jim Clark. A poor kid from West Texas, Clark was a high school dropout who turned himself into a computer science professor at Stanford, then founded a company called Silicon Graphics that made him a legend in the Valley. He had a taste for fast cars, expensive wine, and mid-air death-defying antics, like flying a stunt plane. The first time we met, in fact, he took me on a helicopter ride and nearly killed us both. But having just left Silicon Graphics, Clark was looking for something new, something big. And when he saw Mosaic, he quickly became convinced that he'd found it.
I had spent a lot of years thinking about the convergence of different kinds of media with digital technology. And so it just sort of crystallized in my mind that the internet and the World Wide Web were going to be the thing that ushered in that convergence.
Wasting no time, Clark contacted Marc Andreessen, who had graduated from college and hightailed it out of Illinois straight to a job in Silicon Valley.
February '94, I'm at work and I get an email from Jim Clark saying, I'm thinking of starting a new software company. Do you want to get together and talk? So I said, well, this is interesting. So I broke my normal rule of not getting up before noon and got up and had breakfast with him at 7 a.m.
In the months that followed, Marc and Clark became inseparable as they plotted how to turn Mosaic into the basis of a business venture. But this obviously wasn't something that they could do by themselves. They needed a team, and soon they were on a plane for Illinois on a recruiting trip that would spark the start of the internet age.
We hopped on a plane and arrived late one evening and met everyone at a pizza parlor and sat there and had a beer and some pizza and just kind of talked about generally what we thought.
Well, I think we were all a little intimidated, to tell the truth, because he was this big Silicon Valley guy, relatively famous, had founded a very large computer company. Everyone knows he's got a lot of money, and he's coming out here, and he listened.
I didn't have a concept of how we would make money at the time, but it's like so many other things. If there are that many people using something, and it had grown to 1 million users in a period of 9 months, there's going to be a way to make money out of it. But these guys had no clue.
What Clark cared about right now was getting the Illinois geeks on board, so he made them an offer beyond their wildest dreams.
Each of us comes back a little starry-eyed, a little dazed, and for me, just in junior year of university, I was just like, yeah, getting a full-time job offer before I've even graduated for that kind of money, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, man, why would I turn that down,
In hindsight, it might seem obvious that the web browser would change the world. But although Jim Clark may have grasped that insight, most people didn't, including the one person you would have expected to get it immediately, Bill Gates. Gates, of course, was the co-founder and CEO of Microsoft, the most important and fantastically profitable high-tech company of them all. Over the course of 2 decades, Microsoft had established a near monopoly over PC operating systems, and had used that monopoly to gain a vice-like grip over the entire computer industry. The web was cyberspace as a wide-open road, fast-moving and exhilarating, and it would take you absolutely anywhere that your curiosity led you. But Bill Gates thought that the information highway should be a toll road, on which Microsoft controlled all the toll booths, and we would all have to pay to drive. Thanks a lot. Gates' online system was called, surprise, surprise, the Microsoft Network. And in 1994, lots of smart people assumed that he would succeed in foisting down the world, like he usually did. Here was the information superhighway that futurists had been predicting for years. And although Gates didn't realize it yet, his worst nightmare was about to come true. A gang of kids as young and ambitious as he himself had once been were about to threaten everything he stood for and everything that Microsoft had achieved. Brilliant, the spectacle that obsessed with computers since his boyhood, Bill Gates' journey to becoming the most powerful figure in technology began in 1975 when, at the age of 19, he dropped out of Harvard to start Microsoft with his high school pal, Paul Allen. Gates' vision was simple and wildly ambitious. A PC on every desktop, in every home and every office, and every one of those PCs running Microsoft software. By 1993, his dream was tantalizingly close to becoming reality. About 90% of the world's PCs were running Microsoft Windows. Gates and the army that he'd amassed on Microsoft's sprawling campus in suburban Seattle worked insanely hard, and they played very rough with their rivals. The company's rise had left a trail of corpses in its wake. There was Lotus, there was WordPerfect, there was Borland, there was Novell, even mighty IBM, all brought to their knees.